Hamilton did not just shock the rivals at Silverstone. He may have shocked Ferrari itself. Because when Lewis Hamilton puts a Ferrari on sprint pole at Silverstone, the timing screen does more than show first place. It exposes pace. It exposes confidence. It exposes whether the car is real or whether the team was only hoping it could fight. And this time, Ferrari had nowhere to hide. The source points to Hamilton taking British Grand Prix Sprint pole, team reactions after sprint qualifying, and a sprint race that rivals believed still offered opportunity. That is the dangerous combination. Hamilton at the front, Ferrari suddenly alive, Silverstone testing every weakness, rivals seeing a chance, but knowing they may have only a few laps to use it. And the question now is brutal. Did Hamilton simply deliver one perfect lap, or did he just reveal a Ferrari strong enough to control the sprint from clean air? Because if the pole was only a flash, Mercedes, Red Bull, McLaren, and everyone behind can attack. But if Ferrari has true sprint pace, if Hamilton can protect the tires, defend the straights, and turn Silverstone into a rhythm, then Vasseur's surprise becomes something much bigger. It becomes belief. And for the rivals, that might be the most terrifying thing Ferrari can have. Silverstone is where Ferrari's hope became impossible to hide. Before the sprint pole, Ferrari could still control the story. They could talk about progress. They could talk about execution. They could say the weekend was still open, the margins were tight, and the car was improving step by step. But Hamilton changed that in one lap. Because once he put the Ferrari at the front at Silverstone, the conversation stopped being careful. Suddenly, the question was not whether Ferrari had improved. The question was how much Ferrari had been holding back. That is why this moment matters so much for Vasseur. A team principal does not only look at the result. He looks at what the result does to the entire weekend. One pole can lift the garage, but it can also raise the pressure instantly. It turns quiet confidence into public expectation. It turns a developing car into a target. It turns every rival's attention toward the red car. And at Silverstone, attention is dangerous, because this circuit does not flatter weak performance for long. A car needs straight-line speed, but it also needs stability. It needs grip through the fast corners, but it cannot punish the tires too heavily. It needs confidence from the driver, but not the kind of confidence that lasts for one lap and then disappears when traffic, heat, and pressure arrive. That is what makes Hamilton's pole so sharp. He did not simply drag the car to the front at a circuit where one strength could hide the rest. He did it at a track where every weakness should have been visible. That is why Ferrari's own garage would feel the shock differently from a fan's. The fans see the headline. The garage sees the possibility. Maybe the car has more repeatable pace than expected. Maybe Hamilton has found a window in the balance. Maybe the tires are working in a way that gives Ferrari a real chance to control the sprint. Maybe the result was not a miracle. Maybe it was evidence. And that is the word that changes everything. Evidence. A fast lap can be emotional, but evidence creates belief. It tells the engineers that the direction may be right. It tells the driver that the car will answer when he commits. It tells the strategist that track position can become a weapon. It tells Vasseur that Ferrari may not need to talk its way into confidence anymore. Hamilton has put on the track. That is why rivals start to panic, because they are not only dealing with Hamilton on pole, they are dealing with a Ferrari garage that may suddenly believe the car can fight from the front. And belief changes a team. A doubtful team protects too much. A confident team makes cleaner decisions. A doubtful driver hesitates. A confident driver attacks the lap before the corner has fully opened. A doubtful strategy looks for escape routes. A confident strategy builds pressure on everyone else. If Hamilton's pole gives Ferrari that belief, the rivals are facing more than a fast car. They are facing a team that may finally feel dangerous. But here is the trap. Belief can win a sprint, or it can destroy one. Because once Ferrari has pole, the pressure doubles. Every rival is now watching. Every small mistake becomes louder. Every tire issue becomes a story. Every defensive move becomes evidence of whether the pace is real or whether the pole was only a flash. That is what Vasseur has to manage. The team cannot become emotional. They cannot treat the pole like the race is already won. They cannot overprotect the car and hand the sprint back to the rivals. They cannot overattack and burn the tires too early. They have to turn shock into control. And that is much harder than it sounds. Because the first laps of a sprint at Silverstone can change everything. The cars behind know their best chance may arrive early. If they let Hamilton settle into rhythm, the Ferrari may become harder to reach. Clean air helps the leader. The tires can be managed more smoothly. The car behaves more predictably. The driver can choose the pace instead of reacting. So the rivals have to decide quickly, attack immediately, and risk damaging the tires. Wait and risk letting Hamilton control the race. Push through dirty air and risk sliding in the fast corners. Protect the car and maybe lose the only chance to strike. That is why Hamilton's pole creates panic. It forces every rival into a decision before they know the full truth about Ferrari's pace. And this is where Hamilton becomes the perfect driver for the moment. A less experienced driver might feel the pressure of pole at Silverstone and overdo it. He might defend too aggressively. He might push too hard in the opening laps. He might use the tires as if the sprint was won in the first few corners. Hamilton knows better. He understands how to make a lead breathe. He knows when to push, when to protect, when to make the car behind work harder, and when to let the race come toward him. That is why Vasseur's shock, if we frame it through the meaning of the moment, is not just surprise. It is recognition. Recognition that Hamilton has put Ferrari into a position where calm execution now matters more than hype. Recognition that the car may have given him enough trust to attack Silverstone properly. Recognition that every rival is now forced to take Ferrari seriously before the sprint has even begun. And recognition that the hardest part starts after the celebration. Because pole is the question. The sprint is the answer. Can Ferrari repeat the pace? Can Hamilton protect the tires? Can the car defend on the straights? Can the team make the right calls while the whole paddock watches? Can Vasseur keep the garage calm when the pressure has suddenly become massive? That is the real first block of this story. Hamilton's pole did not just shock the outside world. It changed Ferrari's responsibility. Before the lap, Ferrari could be the hunter. After the lap, Ferrari became the team everyone wanted to hunt. And at Silverstone, with Hamilton leading the sprint, that might be the most dangerous position in Formula One. The second layer is where the shock stops being Ferrari's problem and becomes everyone else's problem, because a team can survive being surprised by its own speed. What rivals cannot survive is a Ferrari that turns that surprise into belief. That is the real danger of Hamilton's sprint pole at Silverstone. It does not just give Ferrari the best starting position. It gives the entire garage proof that the car can answer when the pressure is highest. It gives Vasseur something more powerful than optimism. It gives him evidence that Hamilton can place the car exactly where Ferrari needs it, at the front, in clean air, with the sprint about to become a fight. And that changes the whole mood of the weekend. Before the pole, rivals could treat Ferrari as a threat with questions around it. After the pole, they had to treat Ferrari as the reference point. That is a massive shift, because once Ferrari becomes the reference point, every team behind has to adjust its thinking. Mercedes cannot only focus on its own race. Red Bull cannot only trust its long-run confidence. McLaren cannot only wait for tire behavior to come to them. Everyone has to include Hamilton in the center of the plan. How do we attack him? Where is the Ferrari vulnerable? Can we pressure him before he settles? Can we force Vasseur into a defensive call? Can we make Ferrari prove the pole was real? Those questions start shaping the race before the cars even move. And that is how panic works in Formula One. It is not always visible. It is not people shouting in the garage. It is a team suddenly preparing for scenarios it did not expect to face. It is a driver being told the opening laps matter more than usual. It is a strategist realizing that if Hamilton controls the front, the sprint may become harder every lap. That is where the pressure becomes brutal, because the sprint format does not give rivals much time to test Ferrari. There are fewer laps, fewer recovery chances, fewer ways to undo a cautious start. If Hamilton gets away cleanly, the cars behind may quickly run out of clean opportunities. So every rival has to decide whether to attack early. But attacking early at Silverstone is risky. The tires are not always ready to be abused. The cars are close. The dirty air begins quickly. The fast corners punish anyone who pushes beyond the grip. One small slide can ruin the exit. One poor exit can kill the straight. One missed chance can turn into a lap of frustration. And when the driver ahead is Hamilton, frustration becomes dangerous. Because Hamilton knows how to make a rival feel trapped. He can keep the pace just high enough. He can protect the tires without looking weak. He can use the Ferrari's position to make the car behind work harder. He can place the car where the driver behind has to ask, is this move worth the risk? That question is exactly what rivals do not want. Because in a sprint, hesitation has a price. If the driver behind hesitates, Hamilton gains rhythm. If the driver behind attacks too hard, the tires pay. If the team waits for a perfect opportunity, the opportunity may never come. That is why Ferrari's pole creates such an uncomfortable race shape. Every option for the rivals has a cost. Attack and risk damage. Wait and risk losing control. Push through dirty air and risk tire wear. Drop back to protect the car and risk giving Hamilton space. There is no easy answer, and that is exactly where Ferrari wants the field. But here is the part that would make Vasseur's role so important. Ferrari cannot get carried away. A sprint pole can create confidence, but it can also create temptation. The temptation to believe the car is stronger than it really is. The temptation to defend too aggressively. The temptation to push the tires too early because the emotion of Silverstone feels too big to resist. That is where Vasseur has to keep the garage cold. Hamilton can feel the car. The engineers can see the data. But the team principal has to protect the bigger picture. Do not race the crowd. Do not race the headline. Do not race the shock. Race the sprint. That is the difference between a team that enjoys pole and a team that converts pole. Because the rivals will try to turn Ferrari's excitement into vulnerability. They will want to force an emotional reaction. They will want Hamilton defending earlier than planned. They will want Ferrari overthinking tire life. They will want the team to show whether this sudden strength is stable or fragile. And if Ferrari becomes fragile, the whole story changes. The pole becomes pressure. The pressure becomes doubt. The doubt becomes mistakes. That is why Hamilton is so valuable in this exact situation. He has lived through races where the whole world expected him to deliver. He has led under pressure. He has defended under pressure. He has managed tires while rivals attacked. He knows how to make a chaotic weekend feel narrow and controllable. For Vasseur, that matters. Because if Ferrari has a driver who can absorb the noise, the team can focus on execution. It can manage tires. It can protect track position. It can avoid chasing every threat at once. But for the rivals, Hamilton's calm is a problem. They cannot rely on him panicking. They cannot rely on him over-defending. They cannot rely on him wasting the tires just because the crowd is loud and the moment is emotional.